good morning, wherever you may be around the globe, in the chat room, wherever you are. This broadcast is coming at you live from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, on the east coast of these United States, to the satellites above Earth, and into your homes and your mobile devices. Especially now, we're hitting into your mobile devices because, well, the website, latenightinthe should be mobilized now for all. Now, I have put it out there for everybody, and so far I've got nothing but good feedback back from everybody saying that it's all good now. And I think I had one person who said it wasn't working for them or said something about the chat room. And here's the deal with the chat. If you're on a mobile device, chances are you have to download a Flash player for your device you're using because the chat is Flash. If you don't have Flash player, you're not going to see the chat. So, but it should be all good and working well for everybody now. We're also on iTunes as well now, so you can find us everywhere. Now, I don't believe it's archived on iTunes. However, the radio station is run on iTunes as well, so you could get it there. You can get it on TuneIn. You could get it right here at latenightinthe or Open Eyes website or trollman.com. It's just about everywhere now. Everywhere you want to be, right? But, folks, we've got a good one tonight. We've got Chip Reichenthal, who will be joining us tonight. He's returning with us. I think this will be his third trip to Late Night in the Midlands. And I'm looking forward to talking to him, too, because we're going to get into some paranormal topics. Chip is, like, right at the top of the barrel when it comes to the paranormal topic and the phenomena, and so we're gonna have a lot of fun talking with him tonight. We'll take calls at 803-317-2264, and we'll take calls a little later in the show. So, and folks, we are trying to add more to the radio station. So if you know somebody, or if you are somebody and you're interested and you want us to carry your show, email me at mv@latenightinthe.com. I had to think about that for a minute. I tell you, it's been such a busy week. And then, of course, my furry little friend over here caused me a whole bunch of issues, that I had to deal with too. So, it's been a very, very busy week, but a good one at that. And, I hope everybody so far has enjoyed the L&M Radio Network and what we bring to you. And we're going to reach out and bring you more. I promise you. The more we sign for the station, the less repeats of anything you'll hear. So that's what we're doing. Anyway, so get on over to latenightinthe become a member, and be informed. And by all means, inform others. And hey, if you don't know, Art Bell's coming back. He'll be on the Dark Matter Radio Network, and you can listen to my show over there on Saturday and Sunday nights. Go check out their site, their schedule. You'll see where they've got us listed. I think it's 9:30 on Saturday and 12:30 in that area on Sunday. So that's PM for the Saturday and AM for the Sunday. And but yeah, Art's coming back, and apparently he's going to be Monday through Friday, and I think he's going to be from 9 to 12 Pacific time. So it'd be good to have Art back. I just, it's going to be interesting to see how all that goes. It should be a smash, and it's people need to start turning off some of these like coast to coast and things. I mean, they're not bringing you the truth. They're really not. They're not even trying to. And so it'd be nice to see Art come back. And, I love when hosts make comebacks. Of course, he's made a few now. But I love when hosts make comebacks and, and they expose the evil that has tried to suppress them. So, we've been there. We've done it. So, anyways, a lot of good stuff on both our network and, of course, over on the Dark Matter Radio Network. So, but with that, folks, I do want to give a shout-out to our affiliates. And K98 Talk hello to all of you. High Point Radio, the top of New Jersey. They cover New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, and they do it using 100.5 FM and 1700 AM, and you'll find us over there. And, well, I already mentioned Dark Matter, and, of course, LateNightInTheMidlands.com. So, folks, we got a little news that I thought we'd get into here to start things out. Okay, I'm being told that something is wrong here with the server. So I guess, alright, I guess I'm going to have to check with Ira here and see what's going on. So Ira, if you're listening, are we live or what? Well, that puts a damper in the show now, doesn't it? Oh, okay, so we are live. All right, well, more editing for me, I guess. Anyways, folks, we do have some news that we want to get into here, and sorry about that. I was told that something went wrong, but apparently we're good. So, male northern white rhino under armed guard. The last remaining male northern white rhino has 4 armed guards protecting him 24 hours a day. The solitary male, whose name is Sedan, represents the end of an era for northern white rhinoceros. He, along with 4 females, are the only surviving members of their species, and with old age creeping up on him, and with all previous mating attempts having failed, things are now looking pretty grim. Well, it figures, right? The last male rhino that they have left is probably a gay one, so he doesn't want the females. I'm guessing they're saying that it's failed, and it's failed many times. I mean, why else would it? I'm just a guess, you know. So anyways, 2 of the females remain with him in hopes that he'll give in and do the wild thing, while 2 others are in a zoo. So, species dying off, yeah, I know there's like over 7 billion of us now, right? But we'll die off too, the way things are going. I promise you, we are dying off, despite what the numbers say. First color image of Pluto snapped by approaching NASA probe. NASA's New Horizons mission to Pluto has returned its first color image of the dwarf planet and its largest moon, Charon. The new photo, taken on April 9th from a distance of about 71 million miles, is, by the way, that's 115 million kilometers, or kilometers rather, is already revealing insights about Pluto and Charon, as well as suggestions of the science to come when New Horizons flies by the Pluto system on July 14th, NASA officials said. Now, how could they demote this thing? It's got its own moon, for crying out loud. I mean, come on. If you got your own moon, you should be a planet. All right, anyway. Charon is dimmer than Pluto. That is Charon. The contrast may be due to a difference in composition of the 2 bodies, or it could even be caused by a previously unseen atmosphere on this moon. And that's something else. I think if you've got an atmosphere and they find oceans and stuff, I don't think you can call it a moon anymore. New Horizons gets history's first good look at the 2 frigid, faraway objects. So Pluto is getting its first close-up decades after planets like Venus, Mars, and Neptune received theirs. So further out, but being done. Scientists find key to turbocharging immune system to kill all cancers. Now, here it is, right? But now look for this in the months and even years to come. See if you hear any more about this. It's like these things come out, and then somebody says, nope, put the stamp on that, quiet them down. We can't let people know, but here it is. Scientists find key to turbocharging the immune system to kill all cancers. We've been saying this for a long time. The key is to boost your immune system. We told you chemotherapy destroys the immune system, and that's why you can't beat the cancer. Most times, I mean, there's been a few people who've gotten awful lucky. But that's outside, that's nor here nor there. The majority of the people get the chemotherapy and their immune systems are killed. And once your immune system's killed, everything could get you. So here they are saying an immune system boost. All right, they turbocharge that sucker, kind of like a Primo Love and some of the products that I use here, even the sea veg I use. You boost that immune system. Imperial College scientists are developing a gene therapy designed to boost immune cells, a protein which turbocharges the immune system so that it can fight off any cancer or virus, that would include AIDS, and it has been discovered by scientists in a breakthrough described as a game changer. A game changer, folks, for cancer treatment. But watch, where's this going to end up? Will the American Cancer Society pick up on this? Will they do anything with this? Shh, that's what they'll do. Researchers at Imperial College found a previously unknown molecule which boosts the body's ability to fight off chronic illnesses. Illnesses, not just cancer. So there's your key. You know, I'll tell you. Let's see where this goes. I'll keep up with it. I'll try to. Matter of fact, I'll see this week if I can make a call to this place and see if I can get somebody to keep me updated on this. Because, hey, you can never have too many cancer cures, right? We know already there's about 400 different natural cancer cures right now that exist that the American Cancer Society will not even touch. They won't even whisper that way, but it's true. All right, Army morale low despite 6-year, $287 million optimism program. See, that's the thing. They think that money, everything's driven by money. If we put $287 million into this program, all the troops will be happy again. This isn't a video game. You don't buy happiness for your people. Presidente, your soldiers are pissed. All right? They're worn out. They're tired out. They're done. They don't want to do this no more. You know, a broad swath of U.S. soldiers suffer low morale and distrust in leadership despite a 6-year, $287 million campaign to boost optimism and make troops psychologically resilient. We don't need them to be psychologically resilient. We need them to come home. We need them to come home and defend our own borders. That's what we need. You know how much happier they'd be if they were here in America defending our own borders? I mean, my God, it wouldn't take so long for their postcard to get to mom and dad. Findings obtained by USA Today, they said. The results stem from resiliency assessments that soldiers are required to take every year. In 2014, for the first time, the Army pulled data from those assessments to help commanders gauge the psychological and physical health of their troops. All this is linked up over on News and Discoveries on latenightinthe so you can go check it out there. But see, I mean, these troops don't want this. They want to come home. They're being turned into, you know, robots, pretty much. Well, missing parts, too, when they come back. First person who will live to 1,000 years, already probably alive, they say. They say it is likely that the first person who will live to be 1,000 years old is already alive today. This is according to a growing regiment of researchers who believe a biological revolution enabling humans to experience everlasting youthfulness is just around the corner. So maybe some of these rich people could stop getting all those shots of whatever it is, this junk they put in their face to try to help themselves look young forever. You could look young, doesn't matter what you look like, it's how you feel. And they says that it means zero as far as risk of death from any cause. They said that this is particularly just for aging. So, you won't die of old age, but, you'll die of something else like maybe aspartame or, BP oil in the ocean or Fukushima or chemtrails, things like that will kill you, or running from police officers, that'll kill you too. Rand Paul says, as president, he will get IRS out of your life. Does Rand Paul know that he's not going to get elected unless he does what they want him to do? I don't know if anybody told him that. Someone might want to tell him that. Mexico scrambles to find stolen radioactive material. Authorities appealed for help among Mexico's population on Thursday. And this has happened before. This happened last year, I think, too. On Thursday to locate stolen radioactive material, the latest theft of such dangerous substances in the country. Now, apparently, they have stolen a toolbox-sized container carrying the iridium 192 source, and it was snatched from a truck in a residential parking lot. So, let me get this straight. I'm sorry, folks. I got to go here for a moment. Well, we don't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon, right? That's how the storyline goes, right? But we're okay with Mexico having this type of material that they leave in trucks and residential parking lots. Well, we're okay with that. And there's drug cartel that's pretty much running the country, right? So, but that's okay. And they're right next door to us, and we don't defend the border at all. But no to Iran though. I'm scratching my head again. Digging a hole, folks. Digging a hole in my head. Armed National Guard troops patrol residential streets in California. Now, this came from Alex Jones, so do what you want with it. I'm not saying that they're not there. Yeah, they're probably doing some exercises, but he's making it seem like they're taking over the state. I don't know if they've done that yet, but they're probably gonna. But I don't know if they've done that yet. By the way, I went over to his website. It's what happened through Drudge. I didn't mean to go there, but one of the stories took me there. And I get over there, and then I have my computer pops up a window and says, do you allow InfoWars to track your whereabouts? That's what I asked. They want to know if I'm okay with them knowing my location. And, of course, I clicked no. Now, I don't know if that's just something they do for statistic-wise or what. But what do you need to know where I am for? Don't worry about that. And, last but not least, the groping scandal is business as usual. TSA. You see the old guy there and the woman helping him out. See, this is going on. This is just one case. And then, you know why they bring this case out in the open? Because they want you to think that they're doing something. And that hey, don't worry. Anybody does anything like this, we're going to catch them. The fact is, most of TSA is doing this stuff. They're picking and choosing who they want to feel up. I know this bothers some of you for me to say that, and you think that we really need TSA to keep us safe and help protect us, but I'm telling you it's not going to matter because our borders are wide open. As long as the borders are wide open, feeling up grandma or grandpa at the airport is really not going to make a big difference, except for on that airplane. But then we have evidence that, they have allowed these bombers on planes before, like that the underwear bomber. I mean, I had an eyewitness who was on my show who told us all about it, how the CIA insisted that the TSA or whatever they had there at the time let this guy through. They made sure they escorted him in there. I mean, and I've seen the pictures and the video. I mean, so, I don't know. Do we really need these? I told you it's a perfect job for a pervert, didn't I? I'm not saying everybody in TSA, some just need jobs. I get that, okay? And you're willing to do those things for money. But I'm talking about it is a great position for somebody who's not on a sexual abuse list or whatever, a sex offenders list yet. And somebody say, hey, here we go. I can get a badge to do that all I want. And nobody could call the police on me, right? I mean, how perfect is that? I mean, they set up jobs for everybody except for the middle class who want to work. I'm Michael Vera. This is Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network, and you may also be hearing this one on the Dark Matter Radio Network. I know you're hearing it later on K98 Talk and on High Point Radio. Coming up next, I will be back with my guest, Chip Reichenthal. And Chip Reichenthal is a published author, and a radio host who we hope that, one day we can hear more of him here, who has been fascinated with the afterlife and its research element for over 30 years. Since speaking with his best friend at the time of the best friend's death in 1979, Chip comes to us with a vast background in paranormal investigation and research, and has had success in metaphysical elements as well, with a past as a spirit, it says here. We'll have to ask him about that. Beyond the Norm is all one broadcast, Beyond the Norm. He's on Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern, and it's a weekly show that talks of new scientific theory, metaphysical findings, living angels, or interdimensional. So we'll be talking with Chip when we return. Folks, don't go anywhere. This is Late Night in the Midlands, and we'll be right back. The L&M Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com.
Hello, this is Dick Farrell, here to tell you about OxySilver. Legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. You've heard Dr. Leonard Horowitz and experts urge you to avoid deadly vaccinations and illegal operators selling stolen OxySilver and OxySilver copycats. You've heard experts tell you about suppression in alternative medicine and confusing propaganda in healthcare and the truth movement. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and OxySilver. Liquid Dentist GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use Green Harvest as a great-tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight. And Zeolove, and natural clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from theCureShop.com. Including OxySilver, the world's most powerful silver hydrosol. Electro-energized to put risky injections, toxic antibiotics, and deadly drug pushers out of business. OxySilver is covalently bonded to water. Unlike any other silver product using the frequency of chlorophyll 528, what Dr. Horowitz explains is pure tone love, the universal healer. NASA originally developed covalently body silver hydrosols to keep astronauts healthy in space. Dr. Horowitz added the 528 frequency to NASA's formula and more. OxySilver works three ways to electrocute dangerous germs better than anything, far better than all leading silver products, and without any risk. OxySilver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy OxySilver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. Buy OxySilver, GI Flora Pro, Green Harvest, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with two P's. CureShoppe.com. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
The L&M Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information, and subscribe today. Information on becoming an L&M subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you. The L&M Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com.
It's the middle of the night and there's nothing much to do. Bring your insomniac self over to Late Night in the Midlands and learn something. We've got every topic you can think of, with very little being off limits. Alien abductions, government corruptions, the stuff that's got your sleep disrupted. Come join the conversation tales and tune into Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera.
6-4, and we would love to hear, I think we'd love to hear about it. We want to hear about the man sleeping in the bed. That's it. Just the sleeping part. But we do have Chip Reichenthal, who will be joining us here tonight. And I've already given you off the bio. I'm going to bring him on with us here in just a moment. And it should be an interesting night. It really should. And I'm in the mood to talk about the paranormal a little bit, to be honest with you. I've got some questions, and I think Chip might have some answers, at least the best that you can expect. He's certainly been around the block in this topic. He's been on investigations. He's had experiences. There's no one better to talk to than somebody who's had those experiences, and good old Chip has. And he's going to be with us in just a moment. 803-317-2264. That's where you're going to call if you want to reach Ghostbusters. I'm kidding. No Ghostbusters. I'm not coming to your house, and neither is Chip. Well, maybe Chip will. I don't know. You'll have to ask him, but I'm not. So, but you can call if you've got a story you'd like to share with us tonight. A little later, as long as it's on topic. And for the record, I was not on last night. Some of you may know that. Some of you may not. I was not on. Ira and Ryan did the last frequency. And so, I wasn't on last night. So, some of you like to call in on that open lines night, and, it just wasn't happening last night. And you can't just call in about anything tonight. We're talking about the other side, and, unless it's breaking news, okay, but I haven't heard of anything, no bombs going off yet, at least not here in the United States. So, without further ado, let's bring Chip Reichenthal to you. All right, we're getting him on now. And I know he's a favorite with a lot of people. So, Chip, I welcome you back to Late Night in the Midlands, my friend. It is a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, it's great to be back. A wonderful honor, Michael. Thank you so much, brother.
Oh, absolutely. I've been dying to talk to you. I've had this one question that has been pounding in my head, and I maybe you can answer it.
I hope so.
We have a psychic friend who has just recently passed away. And I'm wondering, what happens with a psychic when a psychic gets to the other side? Does that psychic now help people on the other side connect with us?
Well, that's an excellent question, and I don't have that many dead psychic friends, so I might not be able to answer that one for you. And it also really depends on the psychic. And I think it really depends on a lot of things. They might have a lot of work to do before they can really start congregating with their living friends again. And maybe some things are just better left secret.
Yeah, that's true. But I always wondered, like, with people on the other side, do they, like when my mom made a visit to me, did somebody help her get to me, or did she just know where to go?
Well, I think, especially with the case of your mom, and I really think with family or someone you had like some sort of a special bond with, a soul connection of sorts, a really good friend, lover, something of that sort. I think it's a little easier to make a connection like that. And some of those things, I think, especially with family, I think once they are on the other side, a lot of things change, at least in my opinion, and look, things like grudges and things of that nature change, and what they want more than anything is to make sure that those that survived them are all right,
Right, but now don't some take their, because there's some, I've seen some cases of some, like, just, I don't want to know if I'd want to call them evil, but just bad, and you wonder if they don't take some of them will take it with them, right?
Well, it's really hard to say. I mean, everything is really situational, and bad is also something that's in the heart of the beholder, so to speak. I think what may be evil to some people may not particularly be considered evil in the spirit world, and that may sound horrible, but sometimes things just simply are what they are. So, and again, going back to what I said about grudges and things of that nature, or great fights, people that haven't talked to each other for years and years and years. And suddenly, the one person's dead and the other person starts having regrets. And maybe if this person that held the grudge was a killer, he still may appear to the family member.
Right. So then there's actually bad neighborhoods in the spirit world too, then.
Well, it depends on who you ask. I've got a buddy of mine, been a radio guest of mine a couple of times from Australia, a guy named Danny Searle. He specializes in soul ages, like some people we call old souls. I'm sure you're familiar with the term. Some people are young souls, and he's really about as an expert on that subject as I've ever seen. And in his heart and mind, and in his experiences, because he has some medium tendencies also, there is no negative in the spirit world. Nice. So again, it really depends on who you ask, and everything's a situation. It really is.
Right.
And perhaps the reason nobody has seen this a psychic yet, maybe there is a particular reason for that, and maybe it is up to him. Maybe he would rather keep it in the hearts and minds of his friends, the mystique.
I see. And I wouldn't expect her to contact me. I wasn't looking for anything like that, but I was just curious if they are that connected on this side of the realm. I mean, what does that do for them when they get there? I mean, are they themselves surprised? I mean, did they, I guess.
Well, again, it could be, I mean, I've thought of that too, throughout the course of my life and in my dealings, especially when I was much more in the zone than I am in my old age now. And I think that, if I were on the other side, I would like to counsel other people on the other side, because I did that in life. I could do that in death, and sometimes people on the other side may need that kind of counseling or special help more than living people do.
And the good news is they can't kill you, so you could work.
That is true. That is true.
At least
I don't think they could. I really don't.
No. So they're going to be stuck with it, whether they like it or not. But
yeah.
So now,
although I did want to touch before I forget on one of the news stories you covered earlier.
Sure.
About the hippo.
Oh yeah.
That was like your first news story, and in my opinion, it's payback for all the girl hippos that said, if you were the last hippo on Earth, I still wouldn't go out with you. I think it's payback for that. So he might not be a gay hippo after all. It's just payback, How do you like me now, he's saying.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what else they did. They said they cut off his tuft because they didn't want to attract, thieves and stuff to come in and kill him for it.
Oh, my.
So that might be why things aren't working out. That might be part of their mating thing, who's got the big... And I don't mean that way, but,
it could be a post-traumatic thing.
Yeah, it's like... And usually, don't they have to, fight another one, and the toughest one gets the lady? Well, he's got no one to fight, so...
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I still think it's payback, because I think that's what I would do.
Well, yeah, so would I. It's,
I mean, I'm the guy that takes flights for a specific purpose, and that's not to travel. I want to see if I'm still attractive enough to get felt up by a TSA agent. So far, there's a reason I'm in radio, brother.
Yeah.
Because they just haven't been going for it,
Yeah, no kidding. But, yeah, I don't think I'd have a problem going through TSA either. Oh, my goodness. But
not for lack of trying.
Yeah, not for lack of trying. I've never flown. I've never been in the air. There's something about being up that. I mean, look what happened with this. I don't know exactly what happened with this pilot. It's everyone, there's a conspiracy with everything. But if that did happen the way they say it did, that'd be my luck to be on that plane.
Right. And I always had this this hunch that and maybe it's a past life thing, as I do believe in that sort of thing. But I think people tend to fear either the thing that may take them out or took them out in a previous life. But I just always had that feeling, I don't know if the fear of flying is all that unnatural for some folks, Look, I fell off a high diving board when I was 9 years old, fractured my skull, got really messed up from it, but I don't have a fear of heights. Doesn't bother me to fly, just no fear at all. And because of that, I can look at it a little bit more objectively, although I certainly forgive people for having a fear of flying. But for myself, I can look at it objectively and say, without a doubt, it's the safest form of transportation that we have. And statistically speaking, I mean, it's an extremely rare thing.
I read where these phobias can actually be implanted within our DNA. I read spiders, but now there's another case with a woman who got hit by a yellow cab, and now anything yellow makes her freak out. So,
yeah, it's really hard to tell, but I think whoever said that is probably more than likely from Europe or the United Kingdom. They have a very unique way of looking at phobias and allergies and things of that nature. They're a very clever bunch over there across the pond.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, it's phobias. They do suck. I mean, I didn't have too much of one. I used to be a landscaper, and I used to be out there with the bees and all that stuff, and I didn't care. Go ahead, sting me. And, once I had an allergic reaction to one of them once, and it hospitalized me for, half a day anyways. And then I had to take these steroids, and it sucked. I couldn't stand taking them. But anyways, after that, now it's like, I know that we've got a shortage of bees, but I just appreciate if they wouldn't come near me because
right. and look, I can understand that. I've been stung by bees about maybe 7 times in my life, and they always hit the most obvious point of my face for some reason, like the very corner of my nose. So one side of my nose will get huge, or the corner of your eye, and then one side of your eye will get huge. And I'm not going to run into a hive by any stretch of the imagination, but I can understand insect phobias. I really can. They're just.
I cut through one once with hedge trimmers. The guy's bushes were really thick, and I just said, "Well, I'm going to cut them in half," and I'm going through them. There was a big old honeycomb in there, and I went through it, and you couldn't even see these bees. It felt like somebody was putting cigarettes out on you, but you couldn't see where. It's like a bunch of ghosts were smoking and putting cigarettes out on you. You couldn't see them.
Yeah, wow. Hey, maybe that bush has a Michael Vera phobia. I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah, well, it does not, because I actually poured gasoline on it and lit it on fire. It was one of my customers' houses. I'm not kidding. He come out, he says, "What are you doing to my bush?"
Well, look, I mean, he'll thank you in the long run, I'm sure, because because the bees would go after him, and then you got the Africanized ones that I mean. Once they got you in their radar, man, they're relentless, and that's got to be. I mean, that scares me, and I've never encountered one. I'm fortunate enough. I live north enough in the U.S. here, in upstate New York. We just don't have them, so. Kind of
it's a matter of time, though, I think, because, just like regular bees could make it in the north, I think that these will, too. It's just like the fire ants in the north, I say, I'm glad we don't have those, but eventually I think they'll adapt and they'll keep moving.
Yeah, well, insects and bacteria are real good at stuff like that.
Yeah, and I know here in South Carolina, back in 2009, they said that they had the first case that they found over the border into South Carolina, these Africanized bees, and I'm sure by now they've spread out further. And I hope I never deal with anything like that. That'd be a death sentence.
Yeah, I have the same hope for you.
Yeah, there you go, man playing God again, and that's what you get.
Right.
Yeah, every time man gets involved, it gets dangerous here on this planet. So
yeah, it really does. It really does.
It does.
And we're so fearful of extraterrestrials. But if I were an extraterrestrial and I took a good look at humans and our history, and I'd be real leery of us.
Oh yeah, there's no way I'd want to run out of gas here. Yeah, because next thing you know, you're going to be at Area 51 down in some closet unit, and your ship's going to be being taken apart, and you'll be lucky if you ever get back home.
Oh, real lucky.
Yeah.
And if we don't spend the next 50 years poking you and prodding you and in every creek and crevice that, yeah.
And I'm sure that they would too. I mean, just think if we could wind up go traveling through space and wind up landing on a planet full of people just like us. We'll be sorry.
I hope that doesn't happen to us, because that would be horrible.
Yeah, well, not to you and me, but I could think of a few people in the White House and such that I'd love to see them take that trip.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, we kind of hope that they take the trip and encounter people like us, in that case.
Yeah, and just think, they're about to send a whole bunch of us to Mars, they said, in 2025, I think?
Something like that. And I saw a news story, I think it was last week, they had a spaceship for these people that they plan to take. And it looks so much like the spaceships that we have seen for 20 years and every UFO sighting around. And it makes me think, well, maybe these things have been ours, all this time. Oh,
I got to take a look at that. I haven't seen the ship they plan on going in yet, but boy, I'm curious about that. Because
it was a saucer, it was very similar to the one that I saw, years and years ago when I was 10 years old. It was just like the one out of Lost in Space, the old TV show, which was on at that time. And, it was a saucer and with these flashing colored lights that was about a third of the circumference of the biggest part of the saucer. And that's what this thing looked like, at least on the news story.
Wow, and even if we do have it, this is the problem. Like nowadays, like a lot of people, especially skeptics, will say, "Well, if these things do exist, they're ours. They're military. They're not from anywhere else." And it's hard to argue that, because we do have that now. I think that we've got that technology, but that's not to say that where did it come from? And Ryan will say, well, you can't, we can't say it definitely came from off Earth, and he's right. We can't. But
no, we can't. And besides, I mean, this is the type of reverse engineering technology, to quote some, a lot of these stories that even Hitler and the Germans were trying to get a hold of, back in the late 30s, early 40s, in the heart of World War II.
Yeah. So, this technology, it exists here on Earth, I think, but I think it exists off Earth as well. And I tell people, you got to question everything. You do, because even the space station, how do we really know what's going on up there? I mean, do we really know? And how many of them are up there? I mean, how would we really know that?
Yeah.
So, and that's like with Mars or any of this other stuff. I mean, that's like they say Pluto. I was just talking about Pluto earlier. And
oh, right, yeah.
It's got a moon.
They're still insulting it and saying, nope, not a planet,
Yeah.
And yet in July, we're going to be there. and we're just starting to get photos of it now, in all of its blurry glory.
Do you think that by chance, and I know this is going to be, of course, it's a theory, I guess, but do you think for a minute, because some people think this, that they're actually sending these things out there not because of Pluto, because of something that might be coming in around Pluto?
Well, I don't know how I feel about that. But look, again, there's not much that I wouldn't believe, except for what the government tells us, or representatives of the government tell us. And aside from that, I mean, if it's Joe Blow who comes up and says, "Hey, I saw 3 aliens today, and they were very nice to me," I may believe them, but it's really hard to say. I mean, it seems now. I mean, the more we seem to know about the universe, the more it seems that how the improbability of our being alone in it is. But at the same time, now they've even got these multiverse theories. Well, they've had them for a while, but they're really catching on now, especially one that says that they're, just by definition of infinity, if the universe is infinite, then just by that alone, there has to be an infinite amount of universes, and they many of them are parallel to us in dimensions that we are not capable of sensing or seeing or hearing or whatever, but they have their own space-time. And some of these universes, let's say we are the only life form in this one. Well, maybe there's a parallel universe that's us, 10 years ago, or 10 years from now, or 100 years ago, or 100 years from now. That seems pretty logical. That would, I mean, at least if we're trying to find reasoning behind supernatural types of things, the paranormal things, the metaphysical things, and the extraterrestrial things. I mean, it is possible that some of these beings that are being seen are us 1,000 years in the future.
And mainstream science has gone from their usual, no, there's no other life out there, to, well, it's just a matter of time before we find it.
Well, even the Vatican has, I mean, in 2008, they actually came out and said, you know what? I mean, maybe there are such a thing as aliens.
Yeah,
but
they're ready.
Even in that case, our guy is still the man.
Yeah, they're ready.
It's just on a bigger scale is all, but they're still, I mean, for the Vatican to backtrack is that's when you go, oh.
Yeah, they're ready to baptize E.T. And it's like, I'm thinking, good luck to you if you think they're going to pull in with their saucers, get out and go knock at the door of the Vatican and say, hey, would you please dip my head in that water? I don't think it's going to go like that.
Well, and look, I mean, if we're talking about, I watch the Ancient Aliens show a lot, and I do like the show, and mainly because of the history. I mean, they have fascinating history, the graphics and the effects are outstanding, but, and then everything's an alien, and that's when they start losing me a little bit. I mean, some of that, granted, but I mean, even by definition, angels and gods would be extraterrestrial by definition because they're not of this earth.
Yeah, exactly. And, I like Ancient Aliens only because of the other aspect that they bring to it all. But I take that, like I do with everything else, with a grain of salt. Because for all we know, ancient humans could have been superhumans. They could have had incredible technologies, and I think they did.
Well, I think I think the thing that I object to the most about that show, which I do like, again, is they give no credence to ancient humans whatsoever. I mean, they could not have possibly been that smart on their own to come up with irrigation systems and engineering.
I know.
It couldn't have happened. Couldn't have. And I think, look, it's not like today where we've got smartphones and computers and TVs and toys and cars and, all sorts of stuff to keep us distracted. All they had was the earth and the sky, and that's it. So of course they all night long they would stare into the sky, and they could make shapes out of constellations and patterns out of them, and come up with theories about planets and how it affects the crops and the seasons. I mean, granted they could be smart enough to do that on their own. I think that's where I take probably most offense out of anything.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've talked to researchers who feel like they've seen enough evidence that some maybe 10, 11,000 years ago, there was a civilization here that was using computers and flying machines and all that kind of stuff. So, and I wouldn't doubt that for a minute, because I would have to ask science, what makes you think that we now can do the things we can do, and that thousands of years ago they weren't able to? Why? Because you found no relevance? Well, look at this. If an asteroid just hit or something just happened right now to this planet, what would be the chances, a million years from now, of too much being found? Because most of our information is on disks or thumb drives, or it would be wiped out unless somebody knew how to get the information off anything that may have survived. And I think that the powers that be have gotten that information from somewhere, and I think that everything that's this stuff that's supposed to be invented is really reinvented. I think that all this stuff probably existed already.
Yeah, and I think, and my wife has a theory which I like, because the question is, well, let's say we were visited by extraterrestrials in ancient times, and let's say 10,000 BC, areas around then when some of these pyramids are thought to have first been built. Well, how come we haven't been visited by them since? I mean, certainly there are sightings, and there are reports of abductions or even benevolent encounters from people they call experiencers, who said they have extraterrestrial encounters that were benign or benevolent. And maybe it's because the distance, things have moved around in 10,000 years in the sky, and maybe what was close to us back then may be so far enough away now to prevent them from some clean travel,
I spoke to, and I bring this up often because I think it's so significant. I spoke with a nuclear physicist who had inspected samples that have come back from the rover on Mars, where it gave air samples and this and that, and soil samples, and so he said that the radiation signature on Mars right now, he says, is equivalent, and can only be equivalent to a nuclear bomb exploding here on Earth. It has the same signature, which means that something blew up above the ground and it didn't hit the ground, because if it hit the ground, there'd be that signature within the crater. But they're getting it above in the air. And so what he's thinking, and I think this is as good a theory as any. I think that there was one time life going on Mars and here on Earth, and I think that it was common to travel back and forth. I think that's why you're finding evidence of pyramids on Mars too, and there's pyramids here on Earth. And I think there was a connection. It was a regular thing, and at some point something happened. I don't know if the two nuked each other or if some outside force might have nuked both Earth, and because Earth has signatures of a past nuclear war as well.
Yeah, true. And I mean, they've lost their ozone, and there's nothing protecting them from solar radiation. So it could have also been that maybe they saw this coming and moved here.
Exactly. Either that or they lost the war.
Yeah, or maybe I've seen the Superman film a time or two too many, but it just kind of reminiscent of the whole Zod thing, and But yeah, I'll be okay. But yeah, I mean, Venus. Also, I mean, the lack of atmosphere now. Both Mars and Venus seem to have at one time been potentially habitable. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now they're not. So, I mean, I'll even throw Venus in the mix. I mean, I have no problem with that Venus might have as well. Now, I would like to see some evidence of the surface. So, like I have with Mars, I've seen where they're dumb faces. Those are faces. Those are not a trick of the light. Those are faces because there's been new pictures from all angles, and you could clearly see. And if that's not enough for people, there are pyramids on that planet. And so I really think that there's a connection between the two, and I think that's what's been being kept from us. And I think that, there's been interstellar travel. We just, maybe those are those gods. Maybe it's that connection we had with these other planets. And so very well could be.
Yeah, and the fact that we're talking about it and almost commonplace now, and almost every day you see some sort of news story from Mars, or from one of the moons of Saturn or Jupiter, where they're finding oceans and water and all these types of things. They're getting us prepared for disclosure.
Absolutely. Well, Chip, we've got a couple calls coming in here, so why don't we take those? Let's take, and I ask whoever is not coming on right now to keep it muted in your background, but we've got 724 area code. You're on Late Night in the Midlands. First name, where you're calling from?
Tim from Butler.
Well, how are you, Tim?
Hi, Terry.
Hey, Chip, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I was just listening to this show. It sounds like a supernatural realm show.
I know, right? This is Tim Roxbury, by the way, who hosts the Supernatural Realm radio show.
Well,
which I've
welcome
had the honor
aboard.
to be a guest of.
Great. Well, welcome aboard. You got a question?
I just enjoying your conversation. As you said, it sounds like, something that I've talked to with Chip and other guests on my show. So I've just been sitting back enjoying the show. So I got to call in and say hi.
Well, great. Thank you. What do you think? What do you think between Mars and Earth? You think there was a relationship there?
Yeah, I would think. I think we're all aliens.
Yeah, Tim's from Butler, Pennsylvania, so he's used to a lot of weird stuff, that just happens over there. And Bigfoot and dog boys and, ghosts and extraterrestrials. And they're MUFON level 5 in Pennsylvania.
Zombies, we got it all over here.
Yeah, they really do. They really do.
Level 5. Yeah, well, you're in Columbia, I guess I'm still a little too close to the city lights. So, but I've had a good sighting.
Well, it's because you're in the capital. That's why. See, I'm in the capital of New York here in Albany, so I know what life in the capital is like. It's all politics and no fun.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing. They won't even put up a Ferris wheel here.
They don't. And extraterrestrials are smarter than that. They're not coming to where the politics is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I got the State House probably 10 minutes from me, if that. But
it made for a very good Michael J. Fox romantic comedy back in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure did. But yeah, so anyways, I think that there's a connection. You think there might be, and so does the caller.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. There might be, there might not be. We just the other caller, if you want to call back, we'll pick you up in just a few minutes. So all right, so what else you got?
That's about it. I just want to call and say hi, and I'm just enjoying the show.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate the call.
All right, I'll talk to you later, Mike. Thanks. Great show, guys.
All right, thank you. Have a good one. Yeah, so Pennsylvania is a hot spot because I when I lived in New York, I used to camp in Pennsylvania. We used to go up into the mountains and camp, and I'll tell you, it gets pretty dark and gets spooky at night sometimes.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, it's level. They had. I was reading somewhere they had 9 UFO sightings in February alone.
Wow.
Yeah, for the state of Pennsylvania.
I've had two really good ones here in Columbia since 2000 and I want to say 2012 or 13. So it's been a few years. I've had a couple good ones, but that's more than I could say. In New York, I had one really good one in New York. Outside of that, it was light in the sky. Didn't know what the hell it was,
Mm-hmm.
But I've had some good ones where I still don't know what it was. I just know that something intelligent was controlling it.
Yeah, it's kind of like in a paranormal setting. If you were investigating a property and you see something move on its own. And that it just can't do that because of wind or anything, and it just changes you, and it really has an impact on. I mean, from the soul down, just has that kind of impact on you. We saw one that was a UFO once that was a cloud, and this cloud, it was the kind of day where clouds were kind of moving on by, and you could see them, and of course we all, would look up in the sky and figure out what shapes the clouds looked like or what animals or whatever. I mean, we were kids, and this one cloud was, it wasn't moving, but it was moving, but it was staying still, and it was a different little off color from the rest of the clouds. And while these clouds were really moving at quite a clip, this one was not moving in that way, but it did kind of like swirl a little, and it for 3 hours it was there, and it kind of made us think, especially in retrospect, when you see all these documentaries or shows about abductions and that sort of thing. I mean, how can these little gray aliens abduct and have their way with a family in a rather busy neighborhood, and nobody else saw a thing, and because we saw that cloud one once, it kind of makes you think, well, maybe that's how they're doing it.
Oh, okay. So now you've seen a cloud UFO type. See, now I had a guest on about that a few nights back, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, and look, and again, it's been a long time, especially, living in the political capital of the great Empire State here. This was had to have been late 60s, early 70s. I mean, it was a long time ago, and you just don't see that sort of thing now. But the fact that, with 7 people, we brought some parents into the mix, and 7 people were really focused on this thing, at least on and off for a good 3 hours. And this was after we had seen the Lost in Space type of one. That was probably a couple of years after we had seen that. And this was in a different setting, but with a whole bunch of people. And it's not like the whole neighborhood is hallucinating, and it just really makes you think, especially in retrospect. Boy, now that's stealth,
Yeah, it is. And I'll tell you, once you have these experiences, it changes your life. It honestly does. You'll question yourself a little, but when you come to terms with what you've experienced, it changes your life. I mean, now that there's so much more out there. And I think that with that, especially, not just the ET experience or craft experience, but even the other side experience, having anything from that type of experience, it certainly makes you feel a little more comfortable about going through your life, because that, I guess a lot of us don't want to leave our stuff. That's what we get afraid to let go of. But when it comes down, and the people around us, but once you know that, there's something there, and that you're going to be with everybody anyways, it's different. It's not a religious thing I'm not talking about here. I'm talking about the real deal, going to the other side. I mean, there is another side, another dimension, and when we leave this physical body, we go there.
And there's a certain comfort to not fearing death, I fear dying because I know that's going to hurt.
It might.
At least I hope it doesn't, but depending on how quick and everything. But not fearing death, there's a certain comfort to that. And, and if you take both of them, as we were just talking about, maybe we are approaching full disclosure on the UFOs, because I'm writing an article for Supernatural Magazine, Ghosts or UFOs, which one gets proven first? It's just speculation. I mean, I don't know the answer for sure. And both have ramifications. I think the ghost is probably bigger overall as far as ramifications go. I really don't think that ghosts will be proven in our lifetime, and only because it's a huge blow to organized religion.
Well, Chip, I would say proven to who? Because you and I know they exist.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in order for it to be generally accepted, I mean, look at, and approximately a third of the people, at least according to polls and statistics, now accept that maybe a belief in ghosts, and as many as 50% of the people now might believe in UFOs. And they said 70% of the people think that the government is not honest about it, but I'd say it has to be closer to 100%, because I don't know anybody who thinks that the government is not lying to them in one way or another, especially nowadays, where they're willing to shut things down just to make a point, so where does honesty come into that mix, but I think that the full disclosure for UFOs, and I was watching something, one of the Science Channel or History Channel things, saying that, both religion and government would take a big blow, once we learn as a collective that we are not alone. But at the same time, we're talking about it now. Nobody's threatening to ban the show because we're talking about it, because it's kind of commonplace. There's shows about it. There's news stories every day. I mean, we're on Mars, for goodness sakes, We're just about to, in July, we're going to be on Pluto, taking pictures of Ceres, where we've got information about the moons of Saturn and Jupiter having water, like ocean-like water, deep, deep, deep. And so there could easily be oceanic kinds of life in these moons, for all we know. And that doesn't seem to shock or surprise anyone. And people have heard about abductions, and people have heard about experiencers with light beings or having some benevolent encounters. UFOs, commonplace. They released the files, the UFO files from Project Blue Book. We've got people, Canadian ministers of defense, talking about it in open sessions of Parliament. And so if you're going to have an open disclosure on UFOs, how'd you go about doing it? Well, pretty much the way they're going about doing it right now, because by the time they say, okay, we can tell you now, you're not alone, people will go, yeah, we kind of knew that, it'd be kind of a yawn. Yeah, okay, fine, but what are the Kardashians doing, that's kind of where it's gotten. Whereas ghosts, you can even get scientists and physicists to even entertain the idea of UFOs or even extraterrestrials. And Stephen Hawking will have this great imagination on, because of the chemical structures of a certain planet, what an extraterrestrial life would look like, but he won't talk about ghosts, without scoffing. So, there's kind of a big separation there. And the whole thing about ghosts, and why I don't think we'll see any proof of that in our lifetime, where it's generally accepted, is that because we would have to kind of come to terms with that how we live our lives may not absolutely determine what happens after. And that's really our incentive for behavior here. And it really helps the faith process and organized religion. And it's a good thing, because I think, hey, if people say, okay, well, regardless of how we behave while we're alive, we will end up in an afterlife with common-minded people, whether it's good people or bad people. And I kind of don't want to see that happen either, even though I'm a ghost guy, because there's no incentive to behave. We don't really have that much incentive to behave now. And look at reality television. It scares me half to death. We're really teaching people, especially from a young age on up, with all these reality shows, that rudeness is interesting. It makes you more of an interesting person. You want to be on TV, you want to have your own show, make a fortune, have a big butt and have a sex tape.
Yeah.
Start punching each other out in restaurants with your best friends, with for the studio audience with a whole bunch of cameras out. Or compete completely and unfairly, without soullessly. Just go step on anybody you want in order to get ahead. And that's kind of what we're teaching people now. Oh, okay. Well, if I'm going to be interesting, then I can't be nice.
Yeah.
I can't be behaved.
It's just like these shows that are on cable TV. I talk about them once in a while, like these tow truck shows. And I tell people, I say, I dare you, when your car ever gets towed, I dare you to go to the tow truck place and try that crap you see on TV and throw a brick through their window and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And they'll say, well, I'll be on TV. Yes, you will. You'll be on the news.
Oh,
being arrested.
And you see what cops do to people who do bad things. They'll run you over. I seen that video just recently on TV news. They showed the cop who said the hell with this and ran the guy over. Or they'll shoot you because you're not supposed to be throwing bricks through windows.
No, you're really not supposed to do that. Because people seem to forget in these reality shows. There's a 5-man camera team. They've got 5 different shots. They've got group shots, single shots, close-ups, far pullbacks. I mean, they've got all these different, and there's fades and wipes and edits and all this, and post-production. And so, if somebody's pulling a prank on you, and they're going to, how did they not see that coming? And I'm thinking, you're right. How did they not see that coming with 5 camera crew there,
Oh,
and everybody's
I know.
got their own microphone. It's like, come on now.
Yeah, I know. It's all staged. Reality shows are not reality at all.
It's not reality at all.
But
it's amending our reality. And people are just, I mean, look, I don't like talking politics, but I will say this, and look, we've got Hillary Clinton announcing that she's running. And the following day,
Chucky's
I mean,
back.
whether you like her or her party or not, the following day, somebody vandalized her father's tombstone. And I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican or Independent or don't vote at all, but that's just wrong. But kids that are doing this thing aren't shocked by behaviors like that because they're in video games, they're on reality television, and it's kind of like we have to work harder to shock people. And that's just, look, I don't care if you like her or hate her. You just don't do that.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, leave the dead, let the dead lie, and don't goof with them. I've seen cases back when I lived in Rochester. There's a few times at Old Cemetery there where these punk kids would go in there drinking and kick over these old tombstones, and I'm thinking, when I was a kid, I don't remember ever thinking anything like that would be fun to do.
No.
Mean, what happened to these kids? What did Mama do? Blow the crack smoke in their face or what?
Well, I mean, the family structure is different than it used to be. I mean, we used to have, a stay-at-home mom and dad would go and work, and and when he came home, he was the law, and in the meantime, she was the law. And if you lied, it was okay for the most part for parents to bend you over with a stick, and whack you for it, because then you wouldn't lie again. And things were so different. I mean, the moral structure here were so different in like the 1960s and 70s, even the 80s and 90s. Really, it was so different than it is now. And even television would remind you. They'd have TV programs about etiquette. There would be a moral to the story, in a sitcom or even a comedy show. a moral to the story.
And I know back in the 80s, Chip, when somebody got in a fight, you had enough respect. The guy went down, that's it. Nowadays, you see some of these videos, and they're trying to kill each other.
And people are taking footage of it without getting involved or calling the police or trying to help this poor person that's lying down at the bottom of the ground bleeding. Instead, they're getting close-ups of it. And instead of yelling and running for help, we've just lost our conscience here.
Absolutely. I don't know. Society has changed so much. I hope I never run into anything like that while I'm out and about, because I will knock one of these teenagers out. I mean, I seen this mom, and she's with her kid, and she's getting the hell beat out of her. And everyone reaches for their phone, but nobody calls 911. They all turn on their cameras. And
it's like, hey, are you calling 911? No, I'm calling my buddy. He's got a better camera.
And I gotta tell you, and then the like, woman who's beating this teenager looks at the kid and says, if this kid don't stop hitting me, I'm gonna beat him. If I'm walking and I see that, I'm running up and I'm giving her a 47-yard field goal kick right to the head.
Yeah. And the thing, back to the ghost versus UFOs thing, the one thing about disclosure, about learning that we're not alone, is it keeps alive an uncommon fear element. But if we prove ghosts and prove that there is an afterlife and perhaps multiple lives, where each life is a lesson. You have specific lessons to learn in each lifetime. And so if you're a little rough around the edges in some, well, you can do better next time around. There's no incentive to behave. But if we think that we're not alone, regardless of if religion and government both take a hit by having to admit or disclose that we're not alone, there's still a fear element that keeps us behaving,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that when it comes down to it, the only thing, all that matters in this lifetime is what we're going to be taking with us. And that is the lesson. And I guess we're going to be using this to get ready for our next lesson. And I think that's what it's all about. Now, where do we eventually end up? I mean, how many lessons are there? Is it to go on for eternity, or how's that work? And we could talk about that in just a minute. I want to get this next break out of the way, and then we'll come back and talk about that as well. What might be the final purpose? I mean, are we always going to be in class? Is there that much to learn? I think there probably is, because of how vast the universe is, but we'll see, and we'll talk about that when we come back. Folks, my guest is Chip Reichenthal, and he has his own radio show as well. It's weekly. We'll tell you more about that when we come back. And if you haven't heard him before, well, a real pleasure talking with Chip, because he's just, you can go anywhere with him, and he makes sense, and I love it. So we'll be back in a moment, folks. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera with my guest, Chip. We'll be right back. The L&M Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. L&M Radio has joined with the Hardened Structures team to provide state-of-the-art survival shelter design and build services at L&M Radio exclusive rates. Hardened Structures, with over 21 years experience in military, commercial, and private shelter design build services, are also offering L&M Radio listeners a free consultation, normally a $500 value. So click on the Hardened Structures banner on the right-hand side of Late Night in the Midlands to receive your special offer today. Looking to advertise to a large worldwide audience, but at an affordable price? Contact the station at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com and tell us what you're looking for, and we can make it happen. That's mv@latenightinthemidlands.com. The L&M Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com.
Hello, this is Lisa Marie, here to tell you about Oxy Silver, legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. You've heard Dr. Leonard Horowitz and experts urge you to avoid deadly vaccinations and illegal operators selling stolen Oxy Silver and Oxy Silver copycats. You've heard experts tell you about suppression in alternative medicine and confusing propaganda in healthcare and the truth movement. More advice, all these products and more are available from CureShop.com, including Oxy Silver, the world's most powerful silver hydrosol, electro-energized to put risky injections, toxic antibiotics, and deadly drug pushers out of business. Oxy Silver is covalently bonded to water, unlike any other silver product, using the frequency of chlorophyll 528, what Dr. Horowitz explains is pure tone love, the universal healer. NASA originally developed covalently bonded silver hydrosols to keep astronauts healthy in space. Dr. Horowitz added the 528 frequency to NASA's formula and more. Oxy Silver works 3 ways to electrocute dangerous germs better than anything, far better than all leading silver products, and without any risks. Oxy Silver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy Oxy Silver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. Buy Oxy Silver, GI Flora Pro, 528 Superfood, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with 2 P's. Cure Shop. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
Looking to advertise to a large worldwide audience, but at an affordable price? Contact the station at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com and tell us what you're looking for, and we can make it happen. That's mv@latenightinthemidlands.com.
For 15 years, I've been obsessed to find out what was going on inside of him. It's been my life work. And my ultimate failure. This force, this thing that lived inside of him came from a source too violent, too deadly for you to imagine. It grew inside him, contaminating his soul. It was pure evil.
It's the middle of the night and there's nothing much to do. Bring your insomniac self over to Late Night in the Midlands and learn something. We've got every topic you can think of with very little being off limits. Alien abductions, government corruptions, the stuff that's got your sleep disrupted. Come join the conversation tales and tune into Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera.
no reply at all, too.
Yeah, we call that dead air, I guess.
Yeah, that would be dead air, and and sometimes other things factor in. But yeah, tonight we got a reply, and I'm glad because it's been a great show. And if you want to call in, if you've got something ghost related or a question even, and you want to bring it up to us, it's 803-317-2264. We'll save the politics for another night. And yeah. So what might it all mean, Chip? I mean, how many lessons might we have to go through, do you think?
Well, I guess the most common understanding that I got from mediums who I trust, and my Australian friend who I talked about earlier in the show, who's the soul age expert. I think the general consensus is that when you graduate, when you've made all the mistakes or learned all the lessons and had all the experiences to become the most full soul collective that you can be, your graduation is not all that distant from some of the organized religion. And saying that, you are at one with God for eternity. It is like the graduation.
So
you become at one with the greatest force of all, whatever that is to you.
I was going to say, could that mean, like we hear some religious folks will talk about this 1,000 years of peace? Well, would that be it? Would you get like 1,000 years of life somewhere before you have to go back to school? Or
well, here's and look, I don't want to. I have to watch what I say here because I don't want to offend people. But I saw this thing about end of days not long ago, and I kind of got that light bulb over the head thing because you've got three of the most major religions that all believe that they're the ones standing at the end of all this. They're the good, and they have just defeated the evil. Each of these three believes they're the ones standing at the end, which means that there's no way we can survive this. So that concerns me a little bit. I think that I'm also concerned on the other end, the scientific end. If we're going to start genetically modifying, cloning, or creating a better, stronger, smarter us, then you and I, Michael, could be part of the last real humans in existence.
I've thought about that too.
And if they build a stronger society, according to science now, then the best way to assure a long survival is to kind of adapt to the insect's way of living.
Yeah, because wouldn't they essentially be taking away exactly what makes us human, and therefore destroying our spiritual experience? Because
well, there is that, and there is also look. A lot of the people we were talking about UFOs for the longest time. A lot of people I've talked to that had experiences. Or encounters where they had some sort of back and forth with these extraterrestrials, and this is accounting that we believe them in the first place, is that they all insist that there is no good and evil in an extraterrestrial kingdom. And there's no good and evil in an animal kingdom, or a plant kingdom, or with the stars and the planets in the universe. There's no good and evil there either. There's only good and evil here, and where this seems to get us is at this big standoff at the end where everybody believes that they're the good guys standing when this is all over. So if you have, some allege that these grays, for example, have this kind of insect-like structure where if there is a supreme being, it's a queen bee, and they are not particularly benevolent or malevolent. They are just leading, kind of like in the insect kingdom. There is one collective mind. You've got drones and workers and soldiers, and every single insect in that collective mind has a purpose. They represent something as an individual and as part of the collective, and there's really no difference betwixt them. But the thing is that they know what they have to get done, and they just do it, and there is no good and evil to it. Yeah. It's just you do it.
And they don't get up in the morning and say, I don't feel like doing this today. They just do it.
They just do it. And they basically function like one body, like all of our trillions of cells are doing in order to keep us going. We have trillions of cells, and they're all individual, but they all have a collective purpose and a collective goal. And each of those cells has a purpose. Every atom in physics, every particle in physics has a purpose.
And I wonder, Chip, though, at what point does our meddling in the human DNA or the human biology, at what point do we screw up what might be what we're supposed to be experiencing for our spiritual lessons, for that school we were talking about? I mean,
yeah. Well, it may already be too late, because as human beings, once we're genetically modified, we are no longer, by definition, human beings.
Right, and you take away our emotions, our ability to feel anything, especially pain and jealousy and love, and that all those things would be gone in their perfect human.
Yeah, and so it's really hard to tell. The religion doctrine may interfere, and we may have our end of days getting in the way of making any of that happen. Maybe that's just the way it is, and even in that case, it's not an obliteration. There's destruction and famine and war, but there are some people standing because there is a time of peace after this. So even in that scenario, it still buys us at least 1,000 years. But look, when you just simply don't know. But as far as the metaphysical stuff goes, and what the mediums that I've talked to that I trust or I think are very good, or will give the benefit of the doubt, or they're saying that just like a single life is a series of moments, and look at the way we look at time, where it's all the present, because the past has already happened and the future is not yet. So we're living life in the now. And the now is a series of moments. And each moment comes with the good and the bad, the lessons and the gifts, So we are driven to learn from these mistakes, these trials and tribulations, and these good times. Well, we learn from all of these, and if we don't, then we're just condemned to repeat them.
And unfortunately, looking at some of the history that they haven't been able to hide on us, it would seem that in past times on this planet, we have done what we're doing now. Maybe not on the same level, maybe it was, but what civilizations seem to have been wiped out. We look at these floods that happened and all these different things, and we think of them as natural events. Well, look what we're doing to the planet now. Who's to say that they didn't do the same thing? And so we're getting ready to have that big flood, and I hope somebody built that ark.
Yeah, but it also could be, and I was watching something recently talking about gamma ray bursts, and things that we weren't really aware of before we could really have a grasp of what was happening, really outside of our solar system or now our galaxy. We have an awareness of that there's billions of galaxies. And there are stars, and there are stars that die and collapse and go supernova. And in that, there's this gamma ray burst. That's the energy of our sun and all the energy it could expend in its lifetime, a millionfold in a matter of seconds. Boom! And if there is a star that goes supernova on us, that is within some 600 light years, well, even 1,000 light years from here, it could I mean, it could devastate the planet. I mean,
It
you know,
could.
and here's the neat thing. I mean, what's to say if it happened and it was so sudden that in reality the Earth is completely really gone. It's just this fiery ball like it was billions of years ago. But because it was so sudden, maybe it's already happened. And this whole thing is not a matrix, but kind of like the afterlife now, you know?
And there's this fabric, it seems, that space is. It's this fabric that goes through, and it could be waved. It could be, frequencies could be changed. And so maybe it doesn't have to be so close to affect us. All it has to do is affect other things that affect other things that eventually do affect us.
Yeah,
You know?
and you mentioned that, and therein lies the difference between how physics looks at time and how people look at time, because we see time differently, you know. In Einstein's physics, time can be warped by space and gravity, you know, and so that means that again, I think we talked about this before, but in a setting, a paranormal setting, a ghost could be a living person from the 1870s, but that's living, but in a time warp, you know, because space-time has kind of deviated that. So they're really kind of an interdimensional being, or even the same dimension but in a different time. I mean, all these things are possible, and all the new physics is going there, even though the new physics will absolutely not entertain anything paranormal, which kind of drives me nuts a little
They
bit.
try not to.
But and I learned that in talking with these dead, you know, they're on a different time structure than we are, because when we're alive, we got these hearts that are beating, you know, 2 times a second. And everything that we do in our life is structured around time. And because we don't know when our time is up, you know, everything's so urgent to us. You know, we want answers and we want them now. We want our emotional stuff solved and fixed now.
Now, is that part of the lesson, or is that part of the problem?
That's just part of being alive. And I think once that heart stops beating, then the whole world slows down for those who are no longer in the earthly plane, but in the spiritual plane. And look, again, I mentioned this at the top of our talk, but grudges and fights and things, you know, you've got maybe a father and son who haven't talked in years and years and years, and the father dies, and then suddenly the son, after, if not immediately, after a while, says, boy, I wish I had said goodbye, or I wish I had made up with my dad before this whole thing, and there's regret, you know, and that happens often. But with Dad, that grudge is gone. Everything's different now because that heart's not beating anymore. Time has slowed down. All these urgent things, they know when their time's up. They have answered our biggest mystery of life, which is, when are you going to die? They know the answer to that. So everything is different. And look, they have time to work on these lessons, either to prepare for the next time around, you know, where maybe they can have the chance to have a similar type of life and see if they learn the lesson, or maybe they've graduated from learning a particular lesson, or they're on to the next one. I think there are certain lifetimes where we have to learn to work with others, or to love others. Some lifetimes we have to learn to grieve. And in some lifetimes, we're the one that is grieved. You know, so there are people, I think, that die at a young age in order to teach those who survive them specific lessons. You know, and then you can really objectify all the emotions behind life and death, and or suicide, or murder, or disease, and kind of learn how you can handle or grow through trials, through lessons, you know. Right. But I think that these people that are now gone from us, you know, the survivors are the ones that I really feel the worst for, because it's hard to survive the loss of others. We're still here. We have to feel all that pain. We have to feel all that loss. They're not feeling that.
That's right. And I always say, when we mourn the loss of a loved one, we're mourning it's really a selfish act. But, I'm not saying that it's not something it's built in. You have to do it. But it's a selfish act. It's because they're gone. We're still here. We can't see them. We can't talk to them, so we think anymore. Yeah, and they're sitting on the other side laughing and just saying, it's all right. It's all love over here.
Well, here's the trick. I was talking on my radio show the other night. I got a new show, by the way. I'll have to tell you about that in a moment. On the Dark Matter Radio Network, by the way.
Yeah.
Called Understanding the Fringe. It's Monday nights from 8 to 10. And Eastern, 8 to 10 Eastern, 5 to 7 Pacific. I had Ginger Quinlan on, who was a medium, certified by two of the most stringent organizations that certify mediums, the Forever Family Foundation and the Windbridge Institute. And we were talking about, they don't teach us how to grieve. It's kind of like how do you parent a kid when you have a kid? There's really no handbook. Just like there's no handbook for grief. In fact, there's no set way of grieving, especially here in this country. There's no set way of doing it. So it's human nature to always think we're not doing it right. Geez, did I cry too much? Did I cry not enough? Maybe if I didn't cry for the first week or two, does that make me, narcissistic? Does that make me soulless? People don't know, and there are no answers. And here's the tricky thing, if we were taught since infancy that we don't have to grieve, we can celebrate the people who are gone because they're off to a better place. Then would we? Then would we? Because some animals do, some animals don't. Primates for the most part do, but here we're just told that we should. You should grieve, but they don't tell us how.
The closest death I've had to me so far is my mother. That's as close as it's got, thank God, and I hope that it never gets any closer than that. But I remember, weeks before she had cancer, so I had months to cry. And months to know what was going to happen. And when it came time and it was the funeral, I almost felt a little guilty because I wasn't shedding a tear, but I couldn't. I was all cried out. It was just, I've dealt with it. I knew, you come to terms with it. And then of course, that was in 2001, and in 2004, she made a visit to me. And, I'm so thankful that I had that experience because it taught me so much about, and it certainly piqued my interest in all this, and and I hope that everybody can have that experience. And
so do I.
Yeah,
and it also gave you closure.
It did. It gave me closure as well, and she was right. She told me to tell my dad that it's not his time yet. Apparently, he was concerned that he was next. He was going to be. Well, this was back in 2004. Said it's not his time yet. He's got a long time to go. My dad's now just turned 84, and he's still kicking, and he's still kicking good too. So,
and God bless him. And now that you mentioned mothers, I lost my mother actually in a couple of hours. At least here on the East Coast, it'll be the 17th, which is the year anniversary of my mother's passing. She made it to 91, a week shy of her 92nd birthday. My dad, who's still with us, is going to be 94 in June. So look, it's not like he has cancer, but he's going to be 94 soon, and I assume he's not going to be around for a long time. My mom had some dementia and some aches and pains that came with it, and she was sleeping about 16 hours a day, and she was miserable, and she hit her head on a table from a fall, and she was in a coma. They put her in hospice in this coma. She visited me in that coma and was kind of in a hurry to leave. She did not want to survive that coma. And she kind of wanted me to help her, to say it's okay to go now. And I didn't. I said, when it's your time, it's your time, and she lasted about 3 days after that visit, but she was in a hurry, and I kind of had to say, look, I doubt you'll survive this coma. She didn't have a quality of life at the time, so hence the hurry, but it was still a lot more sudden than her having cancer, and me having some years or months to kind of know it was coming.
My mother was 64, and, I kind of wish I had that discussion with her. We talked about a lot, but we didn't get to that point. Instead, for us, it was more me trying to tell her, don't worry, you're going to be fine, keep fighting, and I tried to keep that fight going in her, and I wish I knew then what I know now. My mother, I believe, would still be here, but it's because of things like that have drifted me into the things that I do now. I mean, I try to pass cancer cures to people, let people know there's hope, there are cures. Scientists just came out and said that they found a way to boost the immune system.
I heard that story. I actually read somewhere about 5 months ago a similar thing where they could have a great impact on cancer, and the health companies know about this, and they won't tell anybody because, the great dollar dictates everything. But oxygenating the cells, when you oxygenate the cells in the body, it really has a great impact on your health to the positive, and could have an impact on disease, especially things like cancer. Just by oxygenating the cells, going on oxygen, pure oxygen, for some time at the day, or finding ways to give to your body, the cells in your body, more oxygen, pure oxygen, and it's such an easy fix that it would wipe out the medicine industry, but it should be wiped out. Nobody's shocked that, we're watching commercials every day about acne cream, and acne cream has side effects like, gout, or your legs will fall off, or your tongue will swell up and never go down, and nobody's alarmed by this stuff, and they keep buying this medicine, and it just gets worse, and they're making up diseases, restless leg syndrome. That was invented on Madison Avenue, and people say, "Oh, I have that."
When I had my heart attack last year, here's some of the medicine they had me on, and here's some of the side effects: mild dizziness, cough, numbness, weakness. Weakness, dizziness, this is another medicine now. Weakness, dizziness, dry. So your mouth will get real dry, tired, weight gain, okay? And then this other one they had me on, cough, dizziness, drowsiness. Now, you've heard that with 3 of these medications, cough, dizziness, drowsiness. Guess what I was a lot of the time? Cough, I was dizzy, and I was drowsy because I had 3 medications. Oh, slight headache and mild skin itching and rash. And I have now eliminated 2 of those medicines now. It was one. I definitely got rid of the statin quick. I got rid of that. I've now got rid of another one, and right now it's the blood thinner is the next one that I need to get off of, and so I'm working on it. And there's a blood pressure pill they give me, and the only time I had high blood pressure is during my heart attack. After that, it went back down. It took a day or 2 to get it down, but it went back down. I mean, it's like it's never been a problem. High blood pressure has never been a problem for me. I just, I had a bad experience. I had an artery that clogged, and I don't know, all of what caused it. I think smoking had something to do with it. I got rid of the cigarettes, and I'm doing the best I can. When it's my time and the good Lord calls my number, I don't want to go right now, but I'm going to go. When I go, I'm going to try to bring all the knowledge I've gathered here, and I'm going to try to bring it to the other side with me. And hey, it's going to be a party, I think.
Yeah, I believe that. And look, we just do the best we can. But I'm a very firm believer that when it's your time, it's your time. And we were talking about, does that include suicides? I mean, the biggest debate in for psychic mediums or spirit mediums is somebody who commits suicide. Are they cheating God by taking themselves out of the equation before it's their natural time, or were they destined to die on that day at that time, if by their own hand, by the hand of someone else, or by some natural? And some people say both, but for the most part, and when it's your time, it's your time. And some will even believe that you were given this lifetime and knew before going in that you would take your life by the end of this at a certain date and time.
Right.
On a soul level, they know this sort of thing, depending on who you ask.
See, and I've been in some. I'm gonna say that there's definitely people who've gone through a lot worse than I ever have, but I've had enough experiences in my life already that would drive some people over the edge. Me, I refuse. I absolutely refuse to quit. I'm not a quitter. I'll go until the end. I'm never going to take my own life. There's just, when it's time to go, it's going to go. I'm going to go fighting no matter what it is. So I just, for me, I'm going to try to stay alive as long as I can. That's my goal, because the longer I live, maybe class will get out a little earlier next time, because I stood late this time.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I was really banged up from an accident a long time ago. It's pain I'll have all my life, but early on into this process, I did want to die, and that's when I started seeing and hearing the dead, and they actually saved my life. And some of these dead were murderers, suicides, murder victims, or outcasts. And that's why I champion them now. When people call them evil, they must be evil if they were killers or suicides. But some of those alleged evil, lifted me up at my worst and saved my life. So that's why I want to put a brighter stamp on any impact that any human being can have while here.
Absolutely. And I've had people who are a little radical on the religious side who would come and say, I tell them about my mom or other experiences I had, and they're like, oh, those are demons. They pretend they make like they're your mother or your father or your loved one, but they're really demons. And I'm saying, well, what demon comes to you and tells you there is a God? Because that's what this demon told me. So is it really a demon? I think that's, again, a matter of perspective and belief. And I'm not saying, I do believe there are these demonic entities. I don't know if you want to call them demons that never lived before. Maybe they're souls that just decided to stay behind and be rotten. I don't know. But there are these bad ones. I mean, I had a couple who actually tried to start my apartment on fire. And I'm actually going to be on Paranormal Survivor. They're going to be a show from Canada that's supposed to be being aired in the United States, I think, this year too. They're coming here to do an on-air interview with me about it, and I never thought it would come to that, and I never told the story for that reason. They found my story in the Examiner, and they approached me, and of course I'll talk about it because I want people to feel comfortable about the experiences they've had. So, talk about it. Who cares if mainstream don't accept it? That's their problem. Talk about it.
Yeah, because it will ultimately help other people. And look, even me, I acknowledge that there are malevolent entities or energies out there. Absolutely. But I also make a case that sometimes people are being assaulted, if you will, because of the way that they're approaching these energies,
Yeah, I agree. So, it's a mysterious thing, but, it's what keeps me going. I love every night, just as I'm sure you do when you do your show. There's a little bit of nervousness in you, but you love it. You can't wait to get on. You can't wait to talk to your guests or talk to your listeners and just hear about this stuff, because for me, when I had these experiences, there was nothing better than hearing from other people who had those experiences to confirm that I'm not nuts. I'm not the only one going through this.
Yeah, it's kind of a cathartic thing, It's therapeutic and it's ever interesting. I like that I have an opportunity to salute my personal heroes, and share with the world why I find these people so fascinating. And I'm always honored to have them guest on my shows. It's a wonderful thing.
Oh, it is. It really is. Well, Chip, we got to take one more break, and then we'll come back. You and I will finish up tonight. And people, you're welcome to call in. Matter of fact, we encourage it after the break. 803-317-2264. I've got just one rule. No F-bombs on the air. On top of that, if you would, please, you need to mute yourself. So I don't want to hear you until I call your area code or your name or whatever, however we end up doing it. So you've got to keep quiet. We'll just answer you. You'll hear what's going on the show. And you just chill out until we call you on. And if you do all that, then we'll be good and I won't have to hang up on you. So, all right, folks, we'll be back in just a few moments. This is Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network. Chip Reichenthal, my guest, he is linked up on the homepage, folks, and I'll tell you, what a great guy. I love talking to Chip, and I know you all love. I'm getting a lot of great feedback, by the way, Chip. They love you.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Well, we'll be back in a moment, everybody. Hang on there with us. The L&M Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. We know you want the truth. That's why we created Late Night in the Midlands. From the Philadelphia Experiment to the Philadelphia Caller.
Well, first off, I want to say I'm enjoying your show. I wish there was something like this up in Philadelphia.
And from West Columbia to you.
Drinking or smoking nothing. I'm just out of work, blue collar man. But like I told her once again, sometimes coast to coast, the subject matter gets boring. I've been listening to Late Night in the Midlands since they've been on. I think it's pretty cool. And again, like I said, this is what we need around here.
And every now and then you hear it first, right here on Late Night in the Midlands.
With the old Painless from Preston.
Well, the first thing is, though, to be fair, don't you think Mr. Paul and I ought to flip the coin?
Absolutely.
Why do I have to be VP?
Well, I was thinking,
I'm fair. Let's destiny take it. Flip the coin in the air. If it's heads, I win. Tails, he wins.
Hey, that sounds good to me.
No, it wouldn't matter either one of us. It would be, and I'll tell you this: if Ron were to run again, and if he came to me and asked me to run with him, I will state this: I would give it very sincere and deep consideration.
You just never know who's going to call in on Late Night in the Midlands.
We have George Norrie from Coast to Coast AM. Good evening, George.
Hey, Michael, I promised you I'd call in for a little bit, and here I am.
So, folks, when I say Late Night in the Midlands covers everything, we really do cover everything.
LNM Radio has joined with the Hardened Structures team to provide state-of-the-art survival shelter design and build services at LNM Radio exclusive rates. Hardened Structures, with over 21 years experience in military, commercial, and private shelter design build services, are also offering LNM Radio listeners a free consultation, normally a $500 value. So click on the Hardened Structures banner on the home page or the chat and listen page and have peace of mind that no matter what happens, your family is protected. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
The L&M Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Want to be a guest on LateNightInTheMidlands.com? Well, you don't have to have the big name and the big books and, of course, the movies and videos. All you need to do is contact me at mv@LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Tell me what you got to offer, and let's see if we can make this thing happen. Again, that's mv@LateNightInTheMidlands.com.
It's the middle of the night, and there's nothing much to do. Bring your insomniac stuff over to Late Night in the Midlands and learn something. We've got every topic you can think of, with very little being off limits. Alien abductions, government corruptions, the stuff that's got your sleep disrupted. Come join the conversation tales and tune in to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera.
Hard days and disasters have stolen your laughter, and fear was your master too long. The endless competing like sharks at a feeding. The nights past unsleeping are gone. Rest easy, my buddy. You don't have to worry. If you
All right, folks, we are back. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera, and rest easy, my buddies. After this show is over, of course, and we're almost there. We got less than an hour to go. We do have some calls, and we'll take those in just a moment. Folks, the call-in number is 803-317-2264. You'll also find that number located on our website over at LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Folks, subscribe, donate, keep us on the air, and I see our little ticker there on the chat and listen page. Should be 100 less. That's got to be updated. But folks, we're getting there, and so is this radio station, and so we're going to keep working at it until we get it filled up here. But for now, we do rerun Late Night in the Midlands at 9 a.m. again in the morning. And you'll also find tonight's show in the archives at LateNightInTheMidlands.com. You'll hear it over on the Dark Matter Radio Network. You'll hear it on K98 Talk and High Point Radio. And we're going to take a call here, Chip. We've got 845 area code. You are on Late Night in the Midlands. First name, where you're calling from, please.
Yes, hi, Michael. My name is Chris. I'm calling from New York State.
Well, welcome aboard, Chris. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to say that I'm so happy that you're giving Mr. Reichenthal a format. He is one of the most intelligent, kindest, most decent people I've ever met. And he's a person where old-fashioned talk, but his money where his mouth is. And I'm honored that you're doing this for him, and he's a great human being. And I just want to say thank you for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I think he's doing more for us than we're doing for him.
Thank you, Chris. It's great to hear your voice.
Oh, you bet. So he's a great radio show. He's a great speaker, but even more important than that, he's a friend to anyone who's in need. He would give the shirt off his back. He walks the walk. And I've met a lot of people in the past few years, but I can tell you he's in the top 1% of people I've met in my entire life of being honest, open, professional. So I just want to thank you, Michael, for having him on, because it's a great thing to expose his ideas and concepts and personalities to your listeners.
All right. Well, thank you. And I know Chip appreciates that. And hey,
it means the world to me, Chris. Thank you, especially coming from you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
All right, you too. And hey, Chip's welcome to, if he wants us to play his show on our station, we'd be more than happy to do that too. I mean, that offer's open. It has been. So 631 area code. You are on Late Night in the Midlands. First name and where you're calling from.
Hello, Michael. It's Eddie.
Well, hi, Eddie. How are you? Sorry, I was not on I tried to send you a message. I was not on the air last night. So it was a last-minute thing. Ira and Ryan did the show, and I was excluded. So, yeah. So what's on your mind tonight?
Nothing much. It's interesting. I had actually spoken with a psychic tonight, and it was interesting because she was like, when I first started speaking to her, she was like, "Oh my goodness, you basically were in my mind, telling me to call." In other words, telepathically, telepathy. And I didn't realize this, but it was like weird because I was getting all these different like signals, and we started talking, and long story short, I've had alien contact in Montauk, New York, actually at Camp Hero, and this woman was telling me, she said, and it's weird because I felt like I've had this like connection with another soul next to me, or I feel like I'm an old soul. And she said, explained to me that the reading that she was getting is that I was actually created through an older Montauk boy, and they had taken his DNA and used it in mine. And it's very weird because, like, I don't feel normal. I don't feel human. I feel like, I've been in other places. I have memories of being on elevators with different military individuals dressed in military uniforms, being taken in these underground bases and being experimented on. It's very, very weird to me, but it's starting to come true to me, in other words.
Okay, so then you're saying that your DNA was used in some way, not that you actually, were there, but that is this a time travel thing, or is this a clone thing, or how did this happen? Because
I want to say what she was saying to me was a past life experience.
Uh-huh.
That in a past life I was a Montauk boy, and they continue to use me. I went to school on an air base in the Hamptons in Long Island. I remember being put in these rooms, and they actually would tell us to put these puzzles together. And, I was in special education, and I'm starting to realize that, it's not really special ed. You know what I mean? It's like we're putting these classes for a reason because we have special abilities that, are psychic abilities, or being able to, bend spoons with our minds, being able to, change channels with our minds, moving things with our minds. It's very, very interesting to me because, like, I know that I have that ability, but I believe that the government does not. They're shutting me down. I have contact. I could sit outside my house. I wouldn't be surprised if they drove up on me right now and waved at me and said, because they know I'm talking. And I know this stuff is still going on. Brookhaven Laboratory. There's a HARP facility in the Pine Barrens in West Hampton Beach, Long Island. This stuff needs to get out there and continue to get out there. And the more it gets out there, the more we'll be able to, try to get this stuff in the open to where people will start to realize what's really going on around them instead of living in a fantasy world.
We gotta watch the language, please. No F-bombs on this show. That will get you removed really quick. So, but we'll have to talk about this at some point. I know that people have asked me about your age and how it could be that you'd be involved with the Montauk project, but I guess you're kind of explaining that now. But yeah, we've got to keep the F-bombs out. I mean, off the air, we could have a beer and do that all you want, but on air, not.
All right.
All right. So how old are you, and how is it that people want to hear, I guess, more about how you were involved in that? And Chip, if you've got any questions, you're welcome to jump right in.
Well, I am 27 years old. I will be 28 next month. However, I do go to the base on a regular basis, and, they're repainting. There's still entrances. To my knowledge, I have friends that could come on this radio show and tell you that they have been shot with darts on that base after hours at nighttime and have woken up in weird and odd places and not known how they got there. I do know that it's still active. They just put in new power lines in the base not too long ago in January. And not to mention, why would they end a project that was making so much money? That's what gets me. You know what I mean? And we also, like I said, we have Brookhaven Laboratory. They talk about tunnels running from Montauk all the way to Brookhaven. It goes on, and not to mention the Hart facility in West Hampton Beach. And I have had friends that have went out there and had guns had been put into their heads and told them that they have to leave. And my friend was like, "Well, why? What are you doing that, you know what I mean, you don't want me to know?" And they were approached, and these people were in all black cars, government vehicles, black suits, the whole nine. So, and, I grew up out here, so.
Now, has any of these guys, this is kind of a crazy question, I guess it'd be hard to do, but it's possible. Has any of these guys gotten pictures or anything that they can show? I don't know, anything, any kind of proof of this. Because, there's going to be people who are going on it.
Definitely. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go military style, and I'm going to go through the pine barrens, and I'm going to get pictures myself. And as soon as I get those pictures, I am going to, post them.
Well, I'll tell you what. When you do, share them with me, and I'll help you get them out there too. Because I'd love to. Not that I doubt any of this. It's just that people will just say it's a story until they're able to see proof, like they do with the paranormal, as Chip and I were talking about. It's until they have their own experiences, and unfortunately, what you're talking about, their own experience might be too late, like their front door or something.
Correct.
Yeah. So, Chip, you got any, or I should ask you, do you have any questions for Chip, or Chip, do you have any questions for our caller?
No, just how did you feel about the psychic reading?
It was very strong. I had actually felt like I was getting attacked. It could have been like, because we talk about how a lot of us have these reptilian DNA, and we have these reptilian genetics and extraterrestrial genetics, and I felt like I was being attacked. In other words, I got really, really dizzy while she was doing the reading on me. I had to get up and go outside and get fresh air just to get myself back together, I got very emotional. I feel like something has been trapped inside of me or beside me that wants to be free, that wants to, go, that wants to, get away from the torment and the confusion and what they went through.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what you do. Get a hold of any of these friends who can collaborate with the story, and let's plan on having you on. This Wednesday things went kind of AWOL. It wasn't supposed to be that way, but it was worked out for the best, and so we wanted to get Ryan in the mix here. So we made some changes this week, but next week we will be live for the last frequency, and maybe we could even plan a show down the road with one of the roundtables that we do. And I'd love to hear from you guys and just leave it open where I could just ask some questions, get familiar with it all, and see what we find out about it all. How's that sound?
Not a problem. Sounds excellent.
All right. Well, again, talk with your buddies or friends or whatever they are and get back to me, and let's see if we can't make this happen.
You got it.
All right. Thank you very much. And I'm not just trying to blow you off either. I'm really not. It's just, tonight we have a guest, and I kind of want to stick with that. And when it comes to whistleblowers, I hold no bars. I ask, whatever questions, even if it ticks them off. That's what I do. I just, hey, I want to know, do you have evidence? I've had so-called super soldiers before get really angry with me because I asked for proof. And the only proof they could send me to was a blog. And I'm thinking, okay, you wrote this. This is not evidence. There's no DNA on this. So,
and hey, it's a tough place to be. I mean, Eddie wouldn't be the first person who's had experiences like that or felt that they're not necessarily of this world. That's kind of a common thing, really. I think, though, judging from some of the things he was talking about, especially, how he feels that these things are very sensitive, and potentially dangerous to him or to others. Perhaps he could try to get past life regression hypnosis, but it would have to be from someone in hypnosis that he trusts, especially if he's sensitive to privacy or issues of not being of this world. So that might be kind of a tough thing to find somebody you trust well enough. But there are hypnotists out there or hypnotherapists who specialize in that sort of thing, and let him build up some trust with them or vice versa before going into that. But he might learn something from that process that would be valuable to him.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, I've got, first off, I got a dream expert who's going to be coming on with us soon. She'll be on probably next month sometime. And she'll only be with us for an hour, but it'll be worth it. I've got her book here, and she's going to be fun to talk to. We've also got Mary Lou McIntyre, who I'm going to get re-signed here shortly, and she talks about she helps people with their past lives and getting into the Akashic records. And I'm not one who sits and vouches for everybody who comes on the show because I can't. All I could say is she seems like a very sincere woman, and I've had nobody complain when she's talked to them. Is she really getting into the Akashic records? I hope so, but I don't know. I'm not her.
Yeah, true. And it's the Akashic record is a fascinating concept on its own. I first heard of it in a movie called The Fury. That's Kirk Douglas and Amy Irving back in the 1970s. It was kind of a good horror film. And they called it the bioplasmic universe. Every thought, a dialogue or concept that has ever been, either in an individual or a collective mind, is in that what they called the bioplasmic universe, which we now call the Akashic record. Actually, we've called it the Akashic record long before that movie was out. It's a fascinating concept, and I do want to remark on the caller before, Eddie, Chris, who called in, and that very nice of him to say, and this guy, I do want to dwell on him for a moment because he's a fascinating individual, and I think him an angel on earth. This was Krista Cesare, who was part of a malevolent haunting that became a national story. He had a film really made about his story called Please Talk With Me. It was brilliantly done, directed by Mara Katria. And this was, he was in college in Geneseo, which is near Rochester, Buffalo, Western New York. In 1985, long before there were shows about ghosts, and he was really had a very daunting encounter with a malevolent entity. He seemed to latch on to Chris because Chris seemed to acknowledge that he was there. So they really latched on to Chris, and I mean just put him through all sorts of hell. And it was a horrible thing. And years and years now have gone by since then, and he looks back on this this malevolent entity, and it looks with such compassion. It's just beautiful, because he understands that this entity, really had no one else to talk to. Nobody else heard him. And he just wouldn't leave Chris alone until he felt as though he was heard. And Chris, lost his social life, his reputation. It ruined his college years. And he's a wonderful, beautiful man. He has an excellent book called Surviving Evidence, which I recommend. It's one of the best books, I think, ever written on the subject of paranormal or malevolent entities. And he is, again, an angel on earth. And for him to praise me in that way, it means the world.
I was going to ask you about that. You mentioned living angels? Is that metaphysical evidence and living spirits or something along those lines. What is a living spirit? I'm going over to bio here right now. I'm going to have to look up my bio. Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and I'm trying, because when I was reading it, I didn't remember reading this before, and I said, oh, wow, that's an interesting concept. I'll have to ask him about that.
No, I think I probably sent you a copy with a word or two missing. I'm going to have to figure that out. No, but it was, and I'll figure that out. But no, I will say living angels. Krista Cesare is one of them. But as far as angels go, they're been a big part of my process for years now, and that's part again of living with a pain condition, and I don't know for people that are listening that live in chronic pain. Nobody talks about that. Dr. Phil doesn't cover it, and you don't hear about it on daytime TV. And really the only reason I mention it is because, somebody's got to talk about it. I don't think of it as a poor, pitiful me thing that I have to live in pain, because it's taken my ability to hate away. It's taken my need to feel like I have to compete away. It's made me much more spiritual. So if I could live my life over again, I would take the pain. And it was, early on in the process of pain where I ended up, seeing and speaking with dead people. And at that time, I thought I was losing my mind. It scared me half to death. I'd like see them like walking down the street at night while driving, or standing behind certain people, and I thought I was losing my mind. I did, and then they started talking to me, and that scared me even more. But I think they kind of caught on that, I thought I was going nuts. So they would tell me some things about living people that I knew, that they knew. And I could go up to these living people and say, hey, did you have an aunt who died in a fire maybe 7 or 8 years ago? Oh, well, yeah. Oh, well, she said that you got a new job and you're doing really, really well, and she's super proud of you. Is that right? And their faces would go like white. And, how'd you know that? And I'm like, oh, thank God, because I knew I wasn't losing my mind. But I lost a lot of friends that way, So pain has been very, very good to me over the years, and I found a way to kind of turn it around. Just like anything that life hands you, everybody's got some bad cards that they've been dealt, and just do the best you can with them. I've turned this whole thing around to work in some very dark realms, paranormal and psychic realms and extraterrestrial realms. And find kindness in them, right. and a way to kind of bleed that over into the living, where we can find ways to be kinder to each other.
And Chip, we've got another call, and we're going to take it in just a second here, and I will give you time at the end of the show to get out any information you like, as I always do with all my guests. So, David, welcome aboard. David's calling in.
Hi, David.
Hi, Chip. Very, very interesting program tonight, Michael. I really enjoyed listening to Chip
Thank you.
Give his dissertation. Chip, believe you me, I've had a lot of pain in my lifetime too. I had a kidney removed in 7th grade and suffered a 3-week coma from an aneurysm at about 27 years of age. So I know exactly what you're talking about. This pain, it just gets to be an everyday thing. But I've spoke with Michael on one of his programs before, and I'm glad you're going to be giving your information out for a means to contact you, because I wanted to tell you that I think I found the methodology to get rid of this pain after a while, and I'm going to be 60 this next year, so I'm no spring chicken myself. But it has to do with the fluids we're drinking, and it has to do with either the north or the south spun electron within that fluid we're drinking. Wow. And like I say, I'll send you this information when you give out your website or email address. But I just wanted to thank you this evening for all your input, and you have been, in my opinion, one of the most intelligent guests on Michael's program to date.
Wow. Well, thank you, David. I mean, that means the world to me, and God bless you, brother.
Well, thank you.
I think we're kind of walking the same path, and I love already, hearing your take on how certain liquids could help us, and maybe the electron spin in those liquids. That sounds fascinating.
Well, that's it exactly. That's where all the developed diseases and abnormalities come within in a person's body with time, is drinking the opposite spun fluid. Like when the electron spins to the north, it mimics the insects, bats, and cats, and our electron in our body spins 180 degrees to the south. So any fluid that's forced through a metal pipe is incorrect to be drinking, and it only takes about 13 seconds to correct this with your bare hands with a glass, and I just wanted to send you this information tonight. So, but thank you once again, both of you. You're doing a heck of a job there, and really give all the listeners something to sink their teeth into.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. That means the world, man. Thank you.
Well, have a wonderful evening, both of you.
All right.
You too. You too.
Yeah, you too, David. Thank you. I always appreciate David's calls. Him and I, we've wrestled around about some ideas on lots of different things, and he sticks to his guns on that electro spin, south spin on the fluid. So, but Chip, we're getting down near the end here. We've got about another, 15 minutes, I guess, to go. And what I want to do is give you the floor to get out anything that you'd like. And I certainly, as always, I am very thankful for you taking out this time to be with us, because you are amongst one of my top guests, and I have a lot of great guests on this show. But
yes, you do, and that means the world too. Wow, this is a great night for my ego. I will say that. And I love being on this program, and hey, I'm excited. But the Element is 24 hours now, late night in the Midlands Network. That's fascinating. And exciting, and I think that's wonderful. And yeah, we'll be hearing a lot more of each other. You kind of know that's coming. Yeah. Actually, I will ask your listeners for their input on something, especially the people that either in chat or who can know you or I on Facebook. Because I've got a dilemma, and it it's not a really huge one. It's more of an ego thing. But I did an interview for a show on the Conscious Evolution Network called Mind, Body, and Spirit TV. And I'm a radio guy, so it was an honor to be on somebody's TV show and doing an interview there. And I posted a link on my Twitter page, and I'm going back and forth whether to post a link to it on Facebook or not. Maybe it's just me. I don't look in the mirror and talk to myself a lot, So when I see me on video, I think anybody sees themselves on TV, they may not like it, or maybe they don't like the way they look in pictures, I've got that kind of thing. And I really had been almost afraid to post it on Facebook. Because I think the interview came out all right, but I just don't like the way my face looks. Plus, I'm having some dental work done, so I'm missing a tooth, which is kind of obvious, and so that mortifies me a bit. So I'd like to ask the listeners if they think I should post it on Facebook or not. And that's really, but that's an ego thing, I was trying not to smile, and I like to smile, so they got me.
Well, that's why I like radio, because I got a face for radio.
Oh, you and me both, you and me both. And I haven't seen your face, so, I can't say, yes or no. Although I'm sure, you'd probably look better on camera than I do. And we'll see soon enough, because, you're talking about being on the show there from Canada, which should cross over into the States, and I'll want to see a copy of that, brother.
Oh, and you could bet after they get it ready and it airs, it's probably going to be several months later before it airs. But once it does, I'll have the video on the website.
I found the bio, too. Chip comes to us with a vast background in paranormal investigation and research, and has had success in metaphysical elements as well, with a past as a spirit medium.
Oh, okay. The medium part's
spirit.
Missing. Yeah, see, that part was missing here. It says with a past as a spirit.
As a spirit. Yeah.
I thought he was a spirit before.
No, I don't want to be dead too. That's bad for business, I mean, unless maybe I could, be one of those guys that actually talks more after I'm dead than. However, I really sincerely doubt that.
Well, it's really not that far fetched. I mean, if you want to get technical, I'm sure that you were a spirit at one time.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure of it, too. And I will look forward to being one. I do think, though, and look, when my time does come, don't cry for me, Argentina, because, I've already lived a good life, I mean, even if I were to go tomorrow, I've already lived a good life. And besides, I'll be in a lot less pain. So, there is no downside. But I think I would like to counsel the dead, both in life and in the afterlife, if I could.
Well,
you know?
I'd like to hang around and interview you guys when I get there on the other side.
Well, I think we'll have to have kind of a get together under all circumstances.
Yeah, well,
both alive, one of us dead, both of us dead. Then we'll in all those things we'll have to have a conference.
Oh yeah, a nice round table from the other side.
That's right. Yeah.
It's it would be great. Who knows? With the way technology's going, it might come a time where we'll actually be able to make that happen when we go. Who knows?
Right? Yeah, but I would like to just make sure I get all my stuff in there. Yeah, but it is on the Conscious Evolution Media. It's consciousevolutionmedia.com. Mind, Body, and Soul TV, and I have it on my Twitter page. My Twitter, I'm a tough guy to find because nobody can spell my last name, and I'm going to start a website. I'm going to write a nonfiction finally, based on my lectures. I'm doing lectures this year at Paracons all over the place.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm in Buffalo Central Terminal May 16th. July 18th and 19th in Rhode Island at the Ocean State Paracon. I know I'm lecturing there. There is a yoga place that I'm going to be teaching and lecturing, but I don't have that in front of me, so I'll have to give you more information about that. I'm ambassador to a documentary that they're making called Afterlife Uncovered. It's a groundbreaking documentary that seeks to prove the existence of afterlife, and both video and audio footage. The producer's name is Edward White. He's both from Ireland and San Francisco. He was my guest at the premiere episode of the new radio show on the Dark Matter Radio Network. I love me some Keith Rowland, you know that.
Oh yeah, Keith's been a great guy. I've had no issues with him. My time there, he likes to keep it kind of towards the paranormal realm of things, so I do my best to keep it that way. But of course, my news in the beginning of the show goes anywhere, and so he's finally accepted that, I guess. Even though people like to write in and complain once in a while and say, "I thought this was paranormal. Why is he talking about Obama?" Well, because
people just love to complain about things. So if they're complaining, you're relevant. It's a beautiful thing. But Keith is just one of these guys. He really built that network in salute of his personal hero, and I think that's wonderful. Especially considering that personal hero is coming back.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll be real interesting to see how things go once Art gets back. Because I know that the network does really well already. It's going to do a hell of a lot better, I think, once Art gets back. And for me, it's an honor to, and I'm not kissing no one's butt. I'm serious. It's an honor to be on the same network with Art Bell because it was my inspiration. Since 91, 92, I was listening to Art Bell, and he got me through a lot of nights. So. Yeah. To be able to be on that, even if it's for a very short time, who knows how long all this will last? Hopefully for a long time, but it is what it is. So that it's an inspiration for me, and I've kind of shunned Coast to Coast because they have turned that into something totally different, and it's not what Art built. So I'm glad Art's coming back.
Yeah, it's not what Art built, and I DJ'd nightclubs for 24 years, and many of those nights, driving home at 4 a.m, listening to Coast when he was on, and I'm just aware of how much of a legend this guy is, and the fact that we're in his realm is a beautiful thing, but also that Keith would build this around a hero of his is. It's a feel good story, and it's a real life tale, and to be a part of that is a beautiful thing. So yeah, Mondays from 8 to 10 Eastern, 5 to 7 Pacific. New show is called Understanding the Fringe: The Kinder Side of Afterlife Science, and so that's a new thing. I had a show on the A1B Radio Network, all1broadcast.com. called Beyond the Norm, which is right now on hiatus, and we're working our way around that. And well, hey, maybe here too, which would be a wonderful thing. But in the meantime, I'm going to start a website called The Kinder Side of Afterlife.com as soon as I finally get around to it. I think before the month is over. And also, we'll work on a nonfiction book called The Kinder Side of Afterlife Science.
Yeah, and you need a website too, because you are a very interesting man with a whole bunch of knowledge and very interesting to talk with. And people like you definitely need a website. So, because sometimes it's hard to, you'll put in somebody's name on Facebook and 100 of them come up. And
well, not my name, that's for sure. But at least on LateNightInTheMidlands.com. You'll see how to spell my last name of Reichenthal, for the listeners that aren't on the page, and I don't know how that's even possible, but Reichenthal. You can find me, Chip Reichenthal. I am on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, but by my old band name, which is Victims of Retail. And that's another reason why I'm so hard to find, because I'm not a victim. I'm not in retail, and, nobody says, oh, the guy who talks about the dead and ETs. Yeah, Victims of Retail, of course, you just can't put it together like that. But yeah, Twitter at Victims of Retail, and my email, victimsofretail@gmail.com. And my book, Even the Dead Won't Tell You the Truth. I was going to write a nonfiction about my first-person perspectives as a spirit medium and talking to the dead. But because I was in radio, I noticed that if I say Chip Reichenthal, spirit medium, then everybody says, oh, well, who died around me? You've got 10 minutes. I want to know now. And everybody wants the circus act. So instead, I wrote a fictional murder mystery where the central character is a spirit medium. And it's kind of the irony of having to work a murder case when he talks to dead people normally. And it does include a lot of stuff from the first-person perspective of a spirit medium. Even the Dead Won't Tell You the Truth is the name of the book. It's from Rowe Publishing, ROWE. I know you got links on the page, and it's also at rowepub.com, which is the Rowe Publishing website. It's also available from Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com websites.
All right.
So Buffalo, May 16th, and Rhode Island, Ocean State Paracon, July 18th and 19th.
You're going to
at least
Buffalo.
I know I got those two things coming.
You're going to Buffalo, my favorite place on the planet.
Oh, I love Buffalo.
Man.
It's weird. I've got more friends in Buffalo than I do here in Albany.
I'll tell you, I love Buffalo, and I always said if I ever did move back to Western New York, I'd move to Buffalo because there's nowhere else I'd rather be than in Buffalo, to be honest with you. It's just
I hear you. Just not in winter,
Yeah, the winters are rough, but God, the community, there's so much history with it. It's a great
and
place.
It's like Western, because here in the capital. Well, I mean, you go to New York City and you walk down the street and you make eye contact with people. Down there it could go one or of two ways. They'll either say hi or they'll try to steal your luggage. In Albany, you walk down the street, you make eye contact, you get the nod back. That polite nod. In Buffalo, they stop you and they go, "Oh, hey, you're not from around here, are you?" Because they know everybody in town. And they say, "So where are you from?" And they actually care, And they're not saying that to steal your luggage. They're saying that because they're just that hospitable, and neighborly. And wow, it's just wonderful, Western New York is awesome.
It really is. Western New York is awesome, and you're going to get bad areas everywhere. No matter where you go, you can find them if you want to. So people who say, oh, well, this city's gone down the tubes or that, areas have. But it takes people, it takes communities to bring back communities. So, but I think Western New York has done, certainly they stand by themselves in New York State, in my opinion. And I'm going to say it again, there's only one one professional New York football team, and it's the Bills. The Giants and the Jets sold out. They play over in New Jersey, so
yeah, that is true.
They don't count.
That is true.
So,
although you're talking to a Giants fan here, and look, and for a while they were the home team because they practiced at University of Albany for 13 years.
Yeah, I think the Jets should stay over in New Jersey, and the Giants need to get a stadium in New York somewhere if they're going to be New York.
Yeah, or maybe come to Buffalo. Look, at least you all got Rex Ryan now, so it's not going to be dull, that's for sure.
Oh, I'm looking so forward to this season, and I'm just hoping that, like last year I had a heart attack, and I'm thinking I hope at the beginning of this season, because it was week 1 of the regular season I had my heart attack, and I'm like, my anniversary will be week 1 this year, and I hope I live long enough to see the Bills win one. Well,
I think we all hope for that, brother.
Well, Chip, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I always love talking with you, and you've been linked up on the website on the links page, and you're also on the homepage for tonight. So thank you very much, and this will be on Dark Matter as well. So you'll be there again.
Yeah, I love me some Keith Rowland.
All right. Well, good. Well, I love me some Chip Reichenthal.
I love me some Michael Vera. This has been, I love being on this program, and I thank you so much for having me again. I know it's like the third time.
It is. Yeah.
And boy, always a good time. And you're a wonderful host, a gracious host, and this is an honor. And I love that you're 24 hours now. God bless you. Congratulations, and more power to you, brother.
Well, thank you, Chip. And hey, you have a great night, and keep your communications with the other side, because we'll have to talk some more at another time about it.
Oh, absolutely. Count on it.
All right. Have a good night. And Ryan says hello.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love Ryan. Yeah, say hi to Ryan for me.
Okay. All right. Well, have a great night, Chip, and thank you so much.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Thank you, Michael. You have a great night, too.
All right. Good night, my friend.
Good night, buddy.
All right, everybody. That's Chip Reichenthal, and I love talking to Chip. He is just one of the most knowledgeable when it comes to the paranormal topic. He's just, I love talking with the guy. I truly do. And he loves Western New York. I mean, how can I not like the guy? Because I love Western New York, too. Now, folks, before I finish tonight, I want to share a couple emails that I received tonight. There's been several, but I just want to share a couple of them with you. They're mostly nice. Every now and then you get these rotten people. But, okay, first off, I want to, there's a lot of thanks to give up, because Laura wrote me, and she says, I started listening to your show thanks to Art Bell. She said, I somehow stumbled upon some of his archive shows on Dark Matter or YouTube one night when I had bad insomnia and just wanted to listen to something different. She says, I became hooked on listening to Art Bell archives at night before bed, and during my search for Art Bell shows one night on Google or Bing, she don't remember which, my show, Late Night in the Midlands, was listed. She said she gave it a try. Said she's been listening ever since, pretty much every night for about a year now, and she appreciates myself and Ira and all the shows and guests. While she says, I'm happy that Art Bell is coming back, she says she loves Late Night in the Midlands and to keep up the great work, and I thank you for that, because I love the feedback, and every now and then I'm not one of those show hosts who like to get out there and brag and do all that stuff, but every now and then, and I feel like you keep reading off emails about your ego and getting your ego up there. That's what you're doing. So but I thank her, and I get a lot of emails like that, and I thank you, people. It just shows you that I do read them, and if necessary I do reply to you. I acknowledge it, and I appreciate it. Now, I had this other well, I'm going to try to be nice here, but I had this other person who's probably not even real, but here we go. Hey, man, I just wanted to let you know that I listen to L&M shows enough that I wanted to sign up and pay monthly to support the shows and the network. He wanted to. Here we go. Remember I was talking about this the other night, folks? Well, here it is. I hit the subscribe button and read the information under Warning Read. You come across as condescending and kind of rude with your information. Not all people are idiots and do not need to be treated like one, especially when they were/are willing to pay for a subscription. See, the willing part is where I'm supposed to take the abuse and be nice and hope that he subscribes. I don't do that. All right. So, he said you could have worded the information in a professional manner and still got your point across. Almost sounds like Dr. Troll wrote this. He says, I heard one of you guys whining recently about Coast to Coast and how many listeners and money they have. I'm not much of a fan of Coast to Coast, but I do. Oh, you obviously listen to Coast, but I do sign up and pay for it time to time. Well, good for you. What do you want, a badge on your chest? He says, you guys should take a page from their book. Oh, and be fakes? No, I'm good with that. Thank you. He says, even though they probably have the most ignorant people out there for subscribers. Well, you're right, because you did say you subscribe, so I will agree with you there, buddy. They don't treat or talk to their subscribers like they are morons. Well, first off, you're not one of my subscribers. You made that clear in the beginning of your email. Second off, what you're reading is an old version on the subscribe page, and you know why that was there? Because people were idiots. Some of them were. So I had to put that there to let them know. And these are your words. You said people would have to be idiots, right? So, okay, well, you know what? You either explain things or you don't explain. When you don't explain things, people email you and ask you questions, and you spend half of your day. You're probably not as popular, my friend, so you probably don't get that many emails, but I do. So it's simpler for me to put it on the website where people can see. Now, I do have to change. I thank you, Mr. Troll, for bringing this to my attention, okay? Because there is some of it that needs to be reworded because it doesn't work that way anymore. But, send an email like that. Come on, you are going to subscribe. It's people like you I don't want as subscribers. See, I'm not living in luxury here. I'm not looking for money, okay? Every penny that comes here goes to keeping the show on the air. You know who does that? People who appreciate Late Night in the Midlands. People who appreciate what we're doing here. Okay, those are the people who keep us on the air. People who talk to me the way you just talked to me are people who are jealous, and you hate yourself, and you don't have any love in your heart, and you can't stand the fact that we're succeeding at what we're doing. So you want to try to put me down, and you want to use a subscription as a way to abuse me. Well, I say to you, sir, you struck out, because you're not going to hurt me with your words. You know where you are now? You are now in the spam folder, and I'm glad you didn't subscribe, because there are some people, stupid has gotten so contagious, and it's become such a disability. Some people you cannot bring back. And you, sir, there's no hope, obviously. So I don't need people like you wasting my time. What I want is smart people who will listen to the information we bring and make the best of it. So there, you got your 5 minutes of fame. And we discussed your email. Are you happy now? Are you over there like moving your hands back and forth and wagging your legs and going, oh my God. Now all he's got to do is mention my name. Well, I'm not going to do that, folks. This has been a broadcast of Late Night in the Midlands on the L&M Radio Network. Keep your eyes posted to the sky, because you never know what you might see. And keep your ears posted to this broadcast, because you never know what you might learn. And you don't have to subscribe to learn it. How about that? Good night, everybody.